back to the Wake and Make show. It's Simply Blunt Design, and we have a Loom knit ankle bulky slipper. This is without a wrap and turn, and this is without a chinner stitch on your toe. So get your tools ready. You're gonna need the 24 peg loom. You're gonna need your loom hook. You're gonna need a bulky number 6 yarn. I use Woolies Thick and Quick in this video. And you're gonna need measuring tape, scissors, and if you want to add an accessory, you can do so. And what I'm adding is 2 rubber bands. I call it stitch markers. If you have stitch markers, perfect. But I use these as peg markers just to know where we want to add a special stitch. Let's get started. So first, we're going to add our stitch markers to peg number 4 and peg number 21. We're going to start at the left side going to the right, and we're going to E-wrap cast on as you see me doing it here, and we're going to cast on all the pegs in the round. Stay tuned. Alright, what we're going to do is E-wrap those first 3 pegs, and we're going to knit stitch on the 4th peg, right where that stitch marker is. We want to do the regular knit stitch on this peg. So this is our knit row. We're going to do a regular knit stitch right here, and then that should lock your E-wraps in place, and then you're just going to E-wrap continuously until you get to peg 21 and do the same thing. Remember, hold your yarn a little so it doesn't fly off, and then you have to go start back. So keep going. See, we're now at peg 21, and now we're going to do a regular knit stitch right here. And Now we're going to E-wrap the last 3. So you should have 6 stitches in between the stitch markers. And I like to come from the back to the front when I E-wrap, just to lock it all in place. So we're going to yarn over, pull that bottom loop over the top. That's an E-wrap. And we're going to do that back around to the beginning and then move to row 2. Stay tuned. Alright, now we're on row 2. This is our purl row. So we're going to just purl the first 3 pegs. And when we get to the peg 4, we're going to slip stitch it. Go to the back of the peg and just pull the yarn to the next peg and purl it. We're going to purl around until we get to peg 21 again. And we're going to do the same thing we did on peg 4. We're going to slip stitch. Slip or skip. Either one will do. So we're just going to go behind the peg with our working yarn and then move to the next peg. So this is row 2 and it's a purl row. So our odd row is E-wrap knit and our even row is purl. Keep that in mind as we continue in the project. We're going to repeat these 2 rows until row 18. Okay? So we're going to E-wrap row, then purl row for 18 rows. And we will see you back then. Stay tuned. Okay, so you have reached the end of if you're at this point. And so what you should do now is watch. We're going to turn back the other way. Okay, because we want to do flat panel now. So we're going to turn back to the right. Don't stay in the round. We're going to go back right. And row 19, which is an odd number, we're going to E-wrap. We're going to skip that first stitch. We're not going to E-wrap the first stitch. We're going to start at 23 and go backwards. So 22, we're going to knit stitch number 21. Okay, and then we're going to E-wrap back to that 5th peg, and then we're going to knit stitch peg number 4. So all we're doing is making this a flat panel instead of staying in the round. So we got to peg number 5 right there, and now we're on peg 4, and we're going to just knit stitch. Remember, we're going to keep the consistent flow of the pattern. E-wrap back to the first peg. Now the first peg we're not going to E-wrap, we're just going to knit stitch right here. Okay, so we're going to E-wrap 2 pegs after the stitch marker instead of the 3, because we're now on the flat panel. So I'm going to show you these 2 rows and how we're going to continue the sides of the foot, because we just came up from the toe. So stay tuned. We're on row 20. And again, on the even rows, we're going to purl. But we're not going to purl the first stitch. We're going to bring it around like a slip stitch. And we're going to purl going left this time. So we're going to do the same exact way we've been doing it. And purl, when you get to the stitch marker, you're going to slip stitch and purl back to peg 21. When you get to peg 21, you slip stitch, and then you're going to purl 2, and when you get to the last stitch, you're going to knit 1. Regular knit stitch, not the E-wrap. So we're coming around to our peg 21. Now we're going to slip. Now purl 2. And knit the last stitch. Okay, now we're going to repeat these 2 rows. You're going to slip the first stitch again. Now E-wrap. Knit stitch the stitch marker. Stitch. And then continue as we did row 19. And we're going to repeat these 2 rows until we get to 28 rows. I repeat, we're going to do this for 28 rows. So that was 2 we did. We're on row 3. So you're going to continue this until you count to the end of 28. And then we're going to stop. And we will show you what to do thereafter. Stay tuned. Okay, we are now at the end of row 28, and this is going to be the back of your heel. Here you have a few options, and so I don't want to get you shaken up too much at the end. So this is what I did. I split it in half. So we got half of 24 is 12, and so what I'm doing is I got a stitch holder, and you could use a piece of waste yarn. You could use a long piece of yarn and do the same thing. Just add the stitches to the waste yarn. But what I'm doing is I'm pulling over 12 stitches so I can meet it and add it to the other side. So you're going to see that I'm picking up each stitch and putting it on my stitch holder. You can do the same thing with waste yarn. You just thread the waste yarn on a blunt needle, and then you could pick it up that way too. It's just that simple. So this is optional, or you could have bind it off and then sewed it together in the back. That's another option for you too. But this technique for me is actually a little easier. So I want to just show you something different. And again, it's all about you. So however you want the back of your heel, you can do it that way too. I wanted to make something in the back of my heel, so if I want to add tassels or like something to hang off the back, this will be perfect because it'll add like a little bridge to the back of the heel. So I'm picking up 12 stitches and just adding it to my stitch holder, and then I'm going to take each adjoining stitch and place it on top of the other pegs on the other side. So it's going to be 12 on the peg, 12 off the peg. And then you're just going to add one stitch each to each peg. And then it's all going to add up to 24 anyway. So once you add the the stitches off your stitch holder to your pegs, you then just lift the bottom loop over the top loop and it's done. That simple. So Check it out. If you like it, hit a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments. And you can also show me how yours turned out. If you want to DM me on my Instagram, it's Simply Blunt Designs, and we can go from there. But this is the end of the heel. See, there was no wrap and turn. Sometimes you need a wrap and turn, sometimes you don't. I do just want to thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want more videos. It would gladly be appreciated. And I will see you next time. Check it out. Okay, so we are done adding our 12 stitches on top of our 12 pegs. And now, if you have any of those hanging pieces of yarn, you can actually cut it off. Do not cut the working yarn. Don't cut your working yarn. You need it. So now we're just going to take the bottom loop and lift it over the top loop like knitting. So I'm just showing you all the pegs all evenly done. And now we're gonna knit over, and this should close the back of the foot. And by the way, that yarn that I cut was the working yarn. Mine was in my way. You don't have to cut it if you don't want to. I just cut a long enough piece so when I bind off, I have enough. So I'm going to bind off by knitting the first stitch. You're going to knit the second stitch, put the second stitch over the first, and then move the first over to the next peg. Done. Now we're going to knit the next one, put it over the first one, knit over, pull it over. And this is our bind off method. And I'm going to continue this until all of my pegs are empty. And there you have it. Stay tuned because I'm going to show you how to close the toe without the Kitchener stitch. Again, it is optional. You can use the Kitchener stitch from one of my previous videos. I show you how to do that. You can go and watch that video. I will post it in the description and you can check it out. You can do it with live stitches or you can do it with the the cast on stitches as well. So once again, I'd like to thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos coming from Simply Blunt Design. I have new patterns, new techniques. Loom knit tech support is at your service, and it is www.simplybluntdesigns.com. Go to my blog. I will be uploading consistent content. You can check out other methods, features, stitches, charts. We got a lot coming this year. I'm so excited, and you will be too. Thanks for watching. So here is our cast on row. Remember that toe part that I was talking about? You can Kitchener stitch it if you want. That's why I had the needles in my hand. But I want to show you something that I realized was very easy and less technical. So if you know how to crochet, this part should be a whiz for you. I mean, it's just that simple. What I did was I went and got a J hook. J is in Jordan. And I got another piece of yarn. Okay. I made a loop. And all I did was corner to corner, single crochet straight across between 12 stitches. Now you can slip stitch if you know what that is in crochet. That's a slip stitch, what I just did. That was just to attach it. You can slip stitch or you can single crochet, whichever one is good for you. But we just wanted something simple, easy for beginners. And I come to find out that a lot of people can crochet. So it's pretty simple to just get the hook and pull it through and close up your cast on stitches at the toe. And this closes it up perfectly. No other method involved. Only for this sock though. Other socks do need an actual Kitchener stitch. So this is how we close the toe. And once I was done here, I just sewed in, I just cut the working yarn, of course, and sewed in my loose ends, or weaved in my loose ends, so to speak, and voila, sock was completed. All done. 12 stitches, slip stitch straight across. That's it. It doesn't hurt your toe when you walk. And just a reminder, my foot size, I have a kid foot size. So I'm at about a 5.5 boys, 7 in women. This fits up to about a size 8. 8.5 women, because it stretches. Woolies Thick and Quick is a very stretchable yarn, so it will stretch as far as you need it, but we don't want it to be anything pressed up against your toe. So if you want to adjust so it could fit, if you have a bigger foot like a 9 or a 10, you're gonna want that first in the round stitches. Remember the 18 rows? You may want that at 22. And then you may want your the back of the foot to go up to a 32. But you may want to adjust it according to the size you want. Could be you may want to make one for your guy. So make sure you're just adjusting according to the template here. So if you want a 9 to, let's say, size 11, all you have to do is make that in the round part about 22 to 24. And then you would make the rest of the foot about 32 to 34 rows. And then that'll be a little longer.